This is the bonus section podcast, episode number 48. Keep your word about others impeccable. Are you the type of person that knows you were meant for something greater in this lifetime? And that somewhere inside of you, there's just this bigger version of yourself trying to break through. But in spite of all your self-development attempts, you just can't seem to find the way up there. Well, then, hey, you are definitely in the right place. I'm Danny Griffin, the founder of the bonus section and the host of this podcast, and a person just like you, trying to learn how to live the most fulfilling life possible. So to help you take immediate action to get moving in a better direction for your life, we take all the notes from each episode and we post them for a short period of time, just a couple episodes at a time, at freethinkingtools.com, freethinkingtools.com. All right, let's get started. Keep your word about others impeccable. This is really near and dear to my heart right now. If there's one thing that I am working on very, very diligently, it's to practice this. And that's my first point here. High standards like this, keeping your word impeccable about others. By the way, if you don't know what I mean, don't talk negatively about other people. It's really a difficult standard. So high standards are difficult to follow, but they're great guideposts. So in other words, you don't want to say this and then 5 minutes after listening to this podcast, you find yourself saying something negative. That wasn't my point, to catch us doing that. And, oh my gosh, there I go again. I'm doing it again. That's not the point. The point is use it as a guidepost. Use it as a standard. It's almost like a core value for your life. My main core value is to be a person for others. And this is one of the next subsequent ones that I think, as I start to think about these things for my life, and then they translate to my business, my family, am I keeping this high standard right up there with being a person for others? If you want to be a person for others, it doesn't mean just physically helping them with something. It means, are you really thinking about them in a positive way? Are you talking about them? Are you sending them through the ether, as Napoleon Hill talks about, these good vibes about what's happening in their life, or not? So for us, it's a good guidepost. It's a good core value that we can look out and up to. That's what I say. Are you this person in life that knows there's a better version, but you can't just get up there? Well, that's why you need these North Stars. Think about all of these standards as stars and guideposts to guide you along in the forest at night. That's what they are. So my next point was, well, why do we do it in the first place? So now we have this guidepost of keeping our word impeccable and being a person for others. We're starting to align our stars, our guiding stars. But we still have to be real about what's causing the challenges that we live with. So I believe the next point is our competitive nature. At least for me, our competitive nature fools us into bad-mouthing others to improve our standing. I see this in business all the time, and what I try to coach against in business as a business coach is don't get sucked into me as your competitive advantage. I mean, no matter what you are, you're in school and you're trying to become the number one math student. You're playing soccer and you're trying to become the best forward. You're whatever in business, a real estate agent, you're trying to become the top person, or you're trying to win the listing, whatever it might be. It's that competitiveness that when we want to win and we realize this competition, it's almost like the wolf comes out in us and we just want to bite that person. And that's the animal brain, and I understand it, and it sucks us into this growling about somebody else. That's what it does. So we have to recognize that that's just an animal instinct. To put somebody else down to survive is very animalistic. But then we have this higher brain that says, well, wait a minute, I'm not a barbarian. I don't live in those kind of times where I have to badmouth somebody to win. I have this higher level thinking. Why don't I just sit still, think about what makes me who I am, why I think I'm good for the job, the position, whatever it might be, why I could be better. And let me double down on that. Let me tell the teacher why I'm good at this thing and what I'm working on. And that's all you can control. In business, I suggest to people say, well, I don't know much about him. I heard he's a good guy. Yeah, I know she's been at the school at the top of the game in the tennis team for years. That's great. Just put them where they are and then just come back to worrying about you and saying, I'm not so sure I'm there yet, but let me tell you what I have. I work every day at this. I practice this. My plan is this. And maybe you could give me some advice on how to improve my standing. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, some people might say, well, that's being too vulnerable. No, it is not. It is so empowering to be secure in who you are and where you're at, and to be humble in knowing that you don't know what you don't know, and that every day we wake up, there's something to learn, there's something to improve. And if we'll just accept that, then all of a sudden our competitive nature can go up to a higher level. I am telling you, in my own business, this is absolutely the thing that brought me to the next level. This very thing, stopping any kind of fool's game of talking negatively about my competition. And when I say negatively, I never really badmouthed any human being. I mean, that was ridiculous. That's just not in my heart to knock somebody in a competitive situation. But I might say things that I think are negative about their resume or their company, and it was just dumb. It was dumb. It was low brain thinking. It was animalistic survival. And as time goes on, you have to stop thinking that you're in this mentality of scarcity, that you're an animal trying to get the last piece of food on earth. It's not good. So see, that natural competitive nature in us to survive is very much at play here. So just become aware of it. And again, I think the best analogy is to keep the lower brain. Yes, the lower brain is there to help you survive no matter what happens. But we don't live in a world like that for the most part. So let's get up into this higher level thinking. That's what the bonus section podcast is about anyway. A higher standard, the next level, beyond what's average. It's that bonus section. So the next point is, you see, what I recognized about myself is that when those bad words were coming out, it was really based in my own insecurity. In other words, there was something I wasn't secure about. In other words, had I really put together the best marketing plan? As a young athlete, I think back, had I really done the work? Had I lifted the weights? Had I stretched? I was a runner, by the way, after I was, loved hockey, but became a better runner than a hockey player. So I really think back to then when somebody was better than me. Did I do the work that it took to be competitive? Was I asking for the right training, the right coaching? Was I proactive? Of course, no. 17-year-old knucklehead, right? With barely anything going on in the frontal lobe when it came to this sort of thing. I was a hard worker, but totally insecure, and realized now it's because when you want something and you don't work at it, that breeds insecurity. And when you're breeding that insecurity and you're still competitive, this is how you get sucked into this negative word about other people. So you have to understand that beneath our bad words about others is the existence of our own insecurities. And the way to attack those things is to work on them. Do your work. Do your work. Do your work. I don't know what's happened to work ethic, in this world, but I remember growing up and I was taught to work and to work hard by my family. If there's one great thing that they gave me, there's many, but it's work ethic. It's the ability to know, and I say it at the end of these podcasts all the time, I know nobody's coming for me. I know sitting here in my basement studio, nobody's coming for me to give this message, to write this word, to speak this word, to get it out to my team and produce it. Nobody is coming for me. So I have to sit here and do the work, because if I don't, then I'm going to feel insecure as a competitor in a digital world. My word is not getting out in this world. That's going to make me feel insecure. It's going to make me feel less than I can be. So I've got to do this. See what I mean? Work. And that applies to anything and everything. You've got to do the homework and then get in the field and do the work and make your corrections. But I find myself, in spite of knowing all that, human again. Every day I wake up, there's a reset to human. There's the lower brain that says, come on, buddy, got to get something on the table and eat today. And the higher brain says, okay, how can we do that strategically, intelligently, benevolently, without harming others? Napoleon Hill talks about that a lot in his book, The Law of Success, that you really will be rewarded in life if you go aggressively trying to get what you want without sacrificing the rights of others. He says it a lot in the book, and it's really an important law of success. So let that sink in, okay? Let it sink in. You must work hard without hurting other people. And my final point was me practicing that every week. And I found myself hearing a less than impeccable word about other people and having a new technique of saying, please stop. And by the way, it was about me, and it hurt to hear it. It hurt to think that people would say that, but I just recognized it as words. That's all I did. I just recognized it as a bunch of words. What did it really do to me that day? Nothing. And so I was giving it life. But if I could halt it, I'm going to use that word. It's very powerful. I see this word now when I hear less than impeccable words out of my mouth or others to me to try to get me in their world on this negative spiral. I say halt in my brain. I practice halting myself and others from even the slightest transgression. Now, that's so easy to say. It's so powerful, and I sound so high and mighty as I preach it to you. I need this every day because I can think of one circumstance in a 24, 48-hour period where I said halt and another where I got sucked right back in because I was feeling that animal protective instinct. So this is a practice that you have to go through. This is a training. You have to train the brain to hear it and to see it and to keep going. Okay, why was I insecure about that? Why did I say that? What's at the deepest root of that? Why did I have to do that? And really digging in there and then halting myself, halting others, but going back through that loop of learning. Why am I doing it in the first place? Stop. Why'd I do it in the first place? Stop. Why'd they do it in the first place? It's a nice little technique. So let me go back and cover this. This is really, really important to me right now. So I hope you feel hope you feel it every time you listen to one of these bonus section podcasts, but this is really, really important to me at the moment. You must keep your word impeccable about others. And here are a couple key points. Even though this is a high standard and it's difficult to follow, it's a great guidepost. The second point was, our competitive nature is actually what's fooling us into bad-mouthing others to improve our standing. That's that animal brain. And really beneath all of this, and why we're so vulnerable to it, we have all these insecurities, and we need to work on those through hard work, learning, education, making ourselves less secure by making our foundation more solid. And lastly, practicing the halting of yourself and others from even the slightest transgression as they talk about others. I'll summarize it by saying it this way. Although it's difficult to maintain the high standard of keeping your word about others impeccable, it is critical to try your best to do so. Because we're competitive and insecure about our own shortcomings, it's far too easy to deflect our own pain onto others by speaking negatively about them, as if in some way that might even improve our own standing. The truth is that the opposite happens, and we end up hurting ourselves even further. So the best starting point is to be aware of a negative word that comes from us and others, and to halt that conversation and push towards a positive redirection. All right, remember, you can take immediate action to get moving in a better direction for your life because we take all the notes from each episode and we post them at freethinkingtools.com. Also, don't forget, you can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen. And you can also find us on our social media channels. We post all of these videos there. So you can find us there as well. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We try to be everywhere so we can share this message. We'd also appreciate it, of course, if you join this mission of becoming a person for others and share these messages that you think somebody you know and love and care about could benefit from. I'll just leave it at that. But remember, I sign off the same way every time. I'm going to remind you, nobody is coming for you. Nobody. So go get to work on a better plan for your life, and we will see you in the next episode to help you do just that. Thanks again.